All right, so we have Mel and Abby here. And Abby is how old right now?
She is 2.5.
She's 2.5. So, pretty interesting. Mel's a patient here too, but Abby came in and was having really some unique things. So, why don't you just tell us what was going on with Abby before she came in and what she was dealing with?
Abby was getting fevers every month for, gosh, almost her whole life. We really started noticing when she was about 1 that every month she would get sick with a fever that would just all of a sudden happen one day, and the temperature would be about 104 and wouldn't come down with medicines or anything like ibuprofen or Tylenol, and it would last for about 7 to 10 days, and then it was gone, and she would be miserable. She'd be throwing up, she wouldn't eat, she would only drink liquids, she wouldn't sleep, and it just caused a huge stress on her and our family.
Like essentially a third of her life, because that's 7 to 10 days, or a quarter to a third of her life is going on. Wow. And so what was that like for you? You've got a son, you're married obviously. What was that like for the rest of the family? How was it affecting you guys?
It was a huge stress, especially on our son Dallin, who is a little bit older. She was getting constant attention from it, and it caused his behavior to kind of go backwards because he craved the same attention she would get.
Right, yeah.
And so it was really hard on him, and it was really hard on my husband and I because we weren't sleeping, so we were angry and we were grouchy and restless, and it just caused a lot of disruption as a whole.
And I'm sure anxious because obviously you didn't know what was going on, and she wasn't getting better, kept getting worse.
Right.
And so, and what had they, as far as medically, have been seeing obviously lots of doctors, traveled to Spokane and saw a specialist, and what had they recommended, what had they diagnosed her with, and things like that?
Well, it took them a while to finally come up with a diagnosis. They just thought it was a monthly virus that she kept catching. And then this last spring, they said that it was something called periodic fever syndrome, where they get a monthly fever and it's pretty much by the clock, which hers was. And they sent us to a specialist in Spokane, and he pretty much said there was no cure for it, that she'd have to grow out of it, and it could be till she's 8 or 10 years old till it would be gone. And so that was really hard to hear because we couldn't imagine living through that for another 6 years of her life. Yeah,
and then talk about, then they recommend to start doing blood draws, and
right.
So talk about that.
So he sent us back home, and we did 6 weeks of blood drawing for twice a week. And it was really traumatic on her because she would just pull up to the parking lot and she'd see the hospital and knew why she was there, and it was painful. So right now, we just go in for a little checkup and she starts crying in the parking lot because that's all she sees it as, is a painful experience.
And I'm sure miserable for you every time you take her there. She's getting stuck with a needle, and at that point they still they couldn't figure anything out. Is that correct? Other than just what they had diagnosed?
That's right, and they didn't know how to help or even help with each month when it would happen.
Yeah.
Their recommendations were to give her some sort of medicine that helps with heartburn patients, and she'd have to take that every day for twice a day. And then they also suggested a treatment where they would remove her tonsils, even though there was no sign that there was anything wrong with her tonsils. And they said there was a 50-50 chance that could help get rid of it.
And so really against the grain of what we teach in our office, we're looking for the cause of the problem. If we don't find something wrong, we can't do anything. We're not going to do anything versus, and I'm sure they're trying to help you, they're not bad people,
right.
But they're saying, we don't know exactly what's wrong, but we can try this. And that'd be okay if there's no side effects to those things, but obviously remove the tonsils, there's a big side effect there, or taking medications.
Right.
And so we brought her in here to our office, and we checked her out. We checked her spine and nervous system. We found subluxation, interference between her brain and her body. We started to give her very, very light adjustments. And so why don't you talk about those? What happened after we started to adjust her? What was her response?
Well, we came in actually the week right after her last episode of a fever, and then immediately after that, the next month, she did not have a single sign of a fever. She was energetic. It helped our family so much because she actually slept, and then we didn't have to worry about her getting off of her sleeping pattern. And she's just been doing really great since then. We've been 3 months fever-free and hoping for a lot more.
Awesome, awesome. And so just so if you're not familiar with chiropractic, that's all we did was remove the interference from her nervous system. We didn't do any nutrition, we didn't give her any supplements, we didn't Nothing else. We just removed the interference so her brain could communicate with her body. And so when you came in, you guys knew exactly this was going to work, right? No, right?
No.
You're sure very skeptical, like maybe parents, and nervous because you've been through lots of stuff. And so maybe, what was your mindset coming in?
I think that we had reached the point where we were just desperate for some help. And so when we started coming in, we were just willing to try whatever. We were open to hear what was going on, but we were very skeptical, and we just thought we'd try it. We didn't think it was really going to work. And when we made it through that first month without a fever, we were so overjoyed and relieved and excited to see if it was going to continue to help. And even after that first month, I remember walking on eggshells, and every time someone asked me, I would knock on wood and say, oh yeah, she's doing good, but it could still happen. So, yeah.
So that thing is based on a law. So we remove that interference, your body heals. And so we want to get people to start to change your view. So if you'd have known, obviously you would have known now, this would have been the first place you'd have brought her versus the last place.
Definitely.
And it's been and correct me if I'm wrong, but the easiest and simplest. We didn't have to stick her with needles. She hasn't cried when we've adjusted her. It's been very simple and easy.
Yeah, so. She loves coming. She, we call it back tickling, and she expects to come, and she doesn't have any problem jumping up and doing it all. It's been a good experience for her.
Yeah, awesome.
And it's helped her, so.
Yeah. So this is, we really want to share this with the people and really appreciate you sharing your story, because there's so many parents out there. Whether or not your child is suffering, hopefully this makes sense. You've got to get your kid checked, because whether or not there's symptoms, if there's interference, you have to remove that so they can heal. So thank you so much for sharing your story, Mel.
You're welcome.